South Africa's official joblessness rate has peaked to almost 35%, with youth unemployment at 66.5%. It also reported that in the tech industry, there's a skills gap that's bigger than the jobs gap. SiMoDiSA's TechXit, which is on the SA Startup Act Movement Steering Committee, is working to close this gap between demand and supply of digital skills on the continent. Well, its chairperson, Pieter de Villliers, joins us now to tell us more about this issue further. Pieter, good morning. Welcome to Morning Live. Tell us about the digital skills gap in the country and what contributes to the shortage in digital skills.
Morning, Lebo, and thanks for the opportunity. I think it's safe to say that even before COVID, digital acceleration took place not just locally, but also globally. And it offers a massive opportunity for communities that respond to it. But if we don't respond, it can also leave people behind. Digital revolution and skills actually sets communities free because it gives us political, economic, and social agency, and also allows us to get into a lifelong learning and development opportunities. And so today, there's a lot of work being done at policy level around job creation. But we would argue that the jobs gap is smaller to some extent than the skills gap, because we have hundreds of thousands of jobs today in the marketplace that we cannot fill. Companies like myself that are in the technology sector then have to look elsewhere to India and Eastern Europe to find those skills, and we offshore a lot of this economic development to those countries that we would love to be able to do this in South Africa.
Now, South Africa has, plus minus 66,000 digital jobs available, 60% of which, are suitable for first-time entry-level workers. Break down these numbers for us.
Yeah, the president said in his SONA that companies must do better to give internships to young people that may not have the experience. And I think the reality is that we've tried that over the last 10 years. And while companies will continue to do good and hearts and minds are committed to giving young people opportunity, the reality is we're competing on a global scale, and a lot of these young people are simply not ready for the workplace. And so there has to be new models. And while there's a lot of work being done in the ecosystem between academies and digital training and skills, we believe there's a time for a new plan that needs to be on the table. And not just by one organization, but really a culmination of more than 100 organizations have been working on this TechXit initiative in the last 2 years to help frame a new approach to helping young people get into the digital skills field, but also then become workplace ready. And so ultimately, if you look at the numbers, it's staggering what we can achieve in terms of economic growth and development.
Talk to us about the Clickatel securing the 1.4 billion to accelerate digital commerce. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so switching gears, we're a technology company. We do what we call chat commerce, helping brands to connect, interact, and transact with their customers where their customers spend their time, which is largely on these chat platforms. But one thing that entrepreneurs will tell you is that, after the funding comes the overhang of finding the skills. And in many ways, the ideas around digital skills growth and scale links to increased companies in South Africa and entrepreneurs getting funding for these global enterprises. So for us, our biggest challenge post-funding is to go and find those 200 plus engineers and making sure we find them in places where we have infrastructure and people that can grow them.
Now, I believe digilink candidates currently also fulfill some of Clickatel's Q&A activities. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we wanted to prove out that you can take the skills that are typically outsourced to India or Europe and give young people an opportunity. So we partnered with Citi and Harambee on a program called digilink, where we moved one of our QA stands for quality assurance and testing teams from Europe to South Africa. These were young people from Limpopo and the Eastern Cape that were taken through a program by the Cape IT Initiative and Harambee, trained on how to do software development, sort of QA work, and then we paid those organizations to actually do the work for us. The young people were so successful in training and growing their capabilities that my team hired more than 80% of them into the company. And the point of that example is that while we weren't able and ready to bring them into the company directly when they just came out of their courses, because we simply don't have the infrastructure to mentor and coach them, these augmented programs that allows for apprenticeships allowed us to actually then bring them into the company 1 year later while they're getting paid by us to get trained.
And how do we make improvements going forward?
I think first and foremost, we work together. South Africans have an incredible opportunity to actually scale our efforts 10x. There's incredible work being done by very large organizations and smaller companies, academies, robotics, all kinds of things, but it's fragmented and it's not in a national framework. And I believe that the Job Act has now been renewed. There's many things on the Job Act and the journey of a young person to get to digital skills that are simply not working properly. So the first step is to understand. We spent 2 years to design a framework and understand how young people go through these pathways. And the second phase now is kicking in March this year. We're looking to bring those understanding, open source it, make it available, and get more of the collaboration between organizations to scale our digital skills opportunity.
And how are these organizations responding to this?
I think for the first time, I'm very hopeful that they realize that fighting over this limited software skills development levy pot that's in South Africa is not the answer. That there's a pot 10x to 20x the size for money that companies like myself send to India and Europe every year for software development and work that we cannot get done in South Africa. So I think for the first time, these skills development organizations are realizing that if we provide the right quality and relevant supply-demand matching skills, that companies like myself, Accenture, Capitec, and many others that are part of this conversation coalition will bring more work back into the country and help our youth thrive.
And what's your greatest wish going forward? What would be the success story for you going forward?
Well, first of all, with digital development comes great opportunity for communities to have economic, social, and political agency. And so the converse is also true. If you leave people behind in the digital divide, then it will be very difficult to have a relevant future for young people. Remember, a digital job, entry level, pays up to 4 times more than minimum wage. So we are looking to create 1 million jobs and skills placed in these jobs, because we believe largely the jobs are out there already through a coalition. So my wish for this year is that we can get the entire community of technologists and large enterprises to work together on a joint plan and help President Ramaphosa achieve his goal of youth employment and activation.
All right. Pieter de Villliers, thank you so much for talking to us. Good luck going forward. That is Clickatel CEO and co-founder Pieter de Villliers, and we've been discussing digital skills in South Africa and what could be done to get young people into that digital space.